Have you heard of a Chinese actor named Yu Meng Long and the complete shadow of humanity that he went through in his last days? Today I want to talk about it. This is something that I want to contribute here, not just as an intimacy coach, but also as a human. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Liana, Andrea Liana, actually. I'm born and raised in Romania, Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe went through communism. We've seen the atrocities that communism does. We've had our losses of human lives due to communism. And these days, there are a few countries in the world that are still in communism. One of them is the People's Republic of China. Many of us, myself included, watch Chinese TV shows. They call them dramas. Listen to music, love the culture, and with the help of streaming platforms these days, we were even closer and closer to that culture because we were looking at their shows, their artists, actors, actresses, singers, entertainers, basically, and we appreciate them, we cherish them, okay? They are dear to us as well. However, recently, and I'm going to tell you from now on how I got exposed to this situation, more and more of us, so I'm talking people across the planet, are not just exposed to the beautiful side of Chinese culture and tradition, but also to the shadow, extremely dark shadow, of the communist regime that is now ruling in China, and also the extremely dark shadow of Chinese entertainment industry. So what happened? And here I'm gonna be mostly a human being, not a coach, and tell you exactly what I found out. So in my case, on September 19th, early in the morning, I finally got an answer to my questions, what had happened to that actor. So a lot of posts came up on my TikTok feed with an actor, Yu Meng Long, who was 37. He, like a lot of people from Asia, to us, they don't look like they're that age. They look a lot younger. And I didn't know of him until then, but I was really sorry to hear, like a lot of times when posts come up on my scroll, on my feed, and I hear of actors, actresses, people passing, I usually stop by and leave condolences. However, in the comment section, there was filled with, he was murdered, he was killed, bring justice. So I left a comment under one of those posts, like, yeah, I keep seeing these comments, what is that all about? And so on September 19th, early in the morning, I started seeing the tags to various videos. First of all, as not just an intimacy coach, but also as a human being, I don't recommend to anybody to watch those, at least not with the sound on. They are highly traumatizing, okay? And a lot of people, after being exposed to those without any warning, because the posts really don't contain any warning, they felt, according to descriptions, and this is some of the things that I also felt, freezing, their blood freezing, a void in their stomach, this one I also felt it, cold all over the place, numb, desperation. Why? That man, without getting into details, this beautiful human being and this beautiful soul was brutally tortured, sexually raped, drugged, forced to drink beyond the healthy measure, and after an ordeal of several hours of human torture done in the middle of Beijing, the capital of China, in a apartment building that was people were living there, like it was not an abandoned building, it was in the middle, in a very luxurious part of the city, okay, in a neighborhood where only really high-ranking celebrities or whatever, people of a higher status, at least economically speaking, usually reside. He was killed there. He died after that ordeal. The people around the planet found out because videos recording the torture popped up online. And they are traumatizing, okay? From a professional perspective, when somebody goes through that, that is primary trauma. They experience that. When somebody witnesses that, and because we saw those videos, there was no warning whatsoever. None. And it's not just one, there were more. We, as people who just saw those, we became witnesses, even if it was a recording and not a live. Okay, in that moment, it was still, we are witnesses. And as witnesses, we go through secondary trauma. And a lot of people, myself included, felt shocked. We cried a lot, had trouble sleeping, had trouble focusing on work. This is what trauma does. Okay? Now, why did we find out about this? Because in a Chinese, not just in a Chinese, these heinous crimes can also take place in North Korea, another communist regime. They can take place in Russia, in the prisons, okay? Alexei Navalny, he probably was tortured that way when he died. If you don't know Alexei Navalny, he died in prison in Siberia. Probably tortured in the same way, but nobody recorded. Nobody leaked the recordings, at least. The horrendous thing is that the details that came up, and they were coming up in comments. First of all, people, so we didn't just see the videos, we got comments saying that there were 17 people who tortured this man, held him captive for a few days and tortured him to death. There were other comments that were giving names. There were various recordings that those people had posted on their social media. And it was just with snippets. And Chinese people, because that culture is very secretive, started to piece details, fine details together that connected to the story that was leaked to us. Other leaked audios presented not just the ordeal that this actor went through, but other people around speaking as they were torturing him. People across the planet, because at first they thought maybe this was fake, they took the audios and they sent them to various companies across Korea and other states to get sound identification. And they also took extracts from various movies where first of all, the actor, Yu Meng Long, played, to compare the voices. Okay, so the voice, first of all, the confirmation came, the audios that were leaked were genuine, like they were not processed in any way. Secondly, the compatibility between the voice in the torture and the voice of the actor, Yu Meng Long, came up at 99.7% like an almost 100% match. And then there are other channels on YouTube. This isn't one, but there are channels on YouTube. One of them is Lay's Real Talk. Another one is David Guandian. Other channels, there's Sound of Hope. This is an organization, a journalist organization, independent, that is financed by Chinese people who have left China and they want to have access to news, but unfiltered. Okay, not the filtered news that the Chinese communist regime gives to their people. And there are obviously Chinese people who use VPNs and they have access on the other side of the wall. Okay, reference to the Chinese wall on the other side of the wall. And this is how they get informed of the things that come out. Okay, because they're especially Gen Z, okay, the younger generations in China. So why did this whole mess happen? First of all, the sick people there, they were recording. Those people are into torture, So the dark side of sexuality, torture, rape, and kill. And they were recording that like they did with other. This wasn't the first case that an actor or an entertainer in China was killed by people in the industry. This is the first thing that came out through the channels that I mentioned now. Those are channels, okay, so they are all by Chinese people who are connected to people still in China who are giving information, because not everybody in China agrees and tolerates the Chinese communist regime, okay? A lot of people want that regime to fall. I'm talking about Chinese people. As an Eastern European person who went through communism, only 7 years, but it was long enough. As a child, you absorb a lot of things from around you. And then I also informed myself to a degree, because there were atrocities done in this country also, and I couldn't stomach it. Okay, we've had torture and kill and abuse in this country systematically, like it's being done in China also, and like it's being done in North Korea, like it's being done in Russia also. But we don't hear about them because the regime censors those. So not just those sick people who did that, and this wasn't the first, and a lot of people are saying this isn't the last case of torture and kill that they are going to do, but somebody else was also recording them. Somebody else recorded them, identified them. That's why we got that list of people. That's why we got all the details of the ways in which this man was tortured. Okay. That's why we got a lot of details of previous episodes of killing, torturing, abuse, and killing in the past. The details, the explanations, okay, because they're coming up. So people in, like, if stuff like that happens in a state, trust me, the intelligence in that state knows. Whatever they call themselves, secret services, CIA, FBI, whatever they're called in different states, okay, the intelligence in that country knows. Okay, they know the details. They know who does it, they know why, they know when, they know where, they know how. Except this time, it was leaked to the public, to the wide public. And through the channels from Chinese people, it's explained that there is a split in the Chinese communist regime, and the 17 people who killed this actor, who was, by the way, very, very, I'm going to use the word that people use there in China, clean. Okay? In Christianity, a lot of people who are seeing this man, they say that he was like an angel. People from Buddhist religions say that he was a bodhisattva. This person was really, really pure. Okay? There are some people who come like this on this planet. He seemed vulnerable, probably, to the horrendous people who kill, and this is how they live. Okay, he seemed like very vulnerable, like the ideal victim. But to us, to the rest of us, a pure soul who had a lot of gifts, talents, artistic talents. He sang, he acted, he played the cello, he played the piano, he recited poems, not just in Chinese, but also in English, by the way. He also had a lot of, I think he played snooker and hockey. He was also known for that. Like, really gifted person, and beautiful, not just according to Chinese standards. Like, even I found him beautiful, and I'm not Chinese. Okay, and a lot of people find him beautiful. So this person was brutally killed, and other people, first of all, the 17 who killed him are connected to Xi Jinping. This is we call him President of China. Over there, they call him the General Secretary of the party, whatever. And somebody else, Cai Qi. This is another high-ranking politician in the Chinese Communist regime. And Cai Qi is the one who's also in charge of the online surveillance. That's why after the death of actor Yu Meng Long, his body was thrown in front of that building from the 6th or 5th floor where he died, and he was left there. And when one of the people who lived in that building saw him call the police very fast filed that case as a very drunk person who accidentally fell from another floor. A lot of other people, entertainers, died because they were drunk and they fell accidentally from high stories. It's an MO, okay, modus operandi. So the police filed it really fast as an accidental fall because he was inebriated. The standard procedures were not followed. Chinese, at least the young people, pointed that one out. Everything after that point online was censored. You couldn't utter the word Yu Meng Long. You couldn't ask to have a fair investigation, like reopen the case. If other actors spoke up for him, they received threats. If other actors try to commemorate him, they couldn't, their posts, first of all, their platforms, okay, we're talking mainland China, so Weibo, Douyin, Kuaishou, they have their platforms. They're Bilibili, which is the equivalent of YouTube, but I think on Bilibili, for whatever reason, they're not censored. I don't know why. So apparently there are a lot of influencers who speak about Yu Meng Long on that platform. Anyhow, on the other platforms, Xiaohongshu, Red Note, Douyin, the equivalent of TikTok over there, Weibo, the equivalent of Twitter over there, and Kuaishou, I'm not sure what the equivalent of what that is, but anyway, it's another app. If any artist spoke about Yu Meng Long, just try to commemorate him, they could no longer be followed. The posts, no matter who posted, common person, entertainer, whatever, about Yu Meng Long, they were shadow banned, so only the author could see them. Some people had their accounts closed off, turned down, closed off, terminated. Nobody could speak publicly about this person. And people were asking, well, if this person just accidentally fell, why can't we not even commemorate him? Some people brought candles to the place where his body was found. They were quickly removed. Like, if there's no problem here, why is this being such a huge conundrum, and why are we censored like this? And this was the mistake that they made, because this is what got Chinese people to come across the firewall, okay, across the Chinese wall, firewall also, and post about it. And they are now coming up with a lot of information how actors in the entertainment world, first of all, they are trafficked. This is the procedure there. You go in there, you sign these contracts that are impossible to leave, and then you are trafficked to people in the political party, people in the entertainment or in the business world. And if you refuse, you get, first of all, you're not cast into various roles, like Yu Meng Long. He refused to do that. This guy was really not just pure and vulnerable, but he was also upright. He refused that systematically, and therefore for 3 years he was not given any roles. He was taken to volunteer as a teacher somewhere in a remote town. He wouldn't comply, okay? He wouldn't be a sex doll for I don't know who. By the way, that's done also for men and also for women, okay? It doesn't matter what you are there. Secondly, their names. This is what Chinese people are now doing. They're screenshotting from their websites where companies are registered. Actors' names. For instance, under Yu Meng Long's name, 45 companies were registered for firearms, explosive, and other pyrotechnical devices. What does an actor who's like, if you see this guy, all he wanted to do was create. Oh, he was also good at directing short movies. He wanted to also film and direct. Like, what does this guy have to do with firearms, explosives, firecrackers, and other pyrotechnics? What is he? Nothing. He got in trouble because he found out. And a lot of people now are saying, because this is being leaked way too much, and the recordings from across the buildings or inside that place are way too high quality to be just with a neighbor recording through the walls. Okay? And the channels that are exposing the whole case are actually saying that is another faction that wants to take down the faction of Xi Jinping, currently leading the Chinese party. And they knew of their depraved and atrocious parties. They call them drinking parties over there. In the USA, they call them freak-offs. Over there, they call them drinking parties, where they rape, drug, torture, and kill people. That's the kind of thing that they're into. So the other faction knew. They recorded that whole thing. They bugged the apartment. They were also across the building. That man was dangled as he was still alive from a high floor, held there for a few minutes, and his screams were recorded. Those are the ones that traumatized a lot of people. And they didn't intervene to stop it. Like, they didn't go the American way, you know, the cowboy way. We recorded a bit of the torture. Now we're gonna step in. We're gonna save. We're gonna expose these motherfuckers who did it because we already know we have a lot of intelligence. No, no, no. They sat through the whole hours of torture and killing. Took photos of everything, including the dead body that was left on the floor. And then exposed it. Because why? Not because they cared about that poor man. No. Because they want to take the power away. They want to take down Xi Jinping, and they want to bring in the whole world in that fall. Okay? They really want to take the guy down and his faction all the way. So we're used. The people who saw these things, the traumatizing videos and audios, were also used. Okay, that's why we were leaked all of those details. The whole planet. Some people, the majority of people are asking, because this is how they faced the whole thing, or not faced, disguised the whole thing, justice for Yu Meng Long, which from a human perspective, I too want justice. And I want those 17 people to get the fair punishment for their atrocities. I too want it. However, some of us are also saying down with the communist regime, because this is both factions, the one responsible for the killing, covering up for the killing, the other part recording and exposing it just to take down the other side instead of stopping the killing. They are all responsible for that brutal death. Okay? None faction is better than the other. None. None of those two factions cared about that human being. This is something that a lot of people are waking up to. So also what is now being leaked is not just the paranoia, just the lack of humanity. And by the way, people call Beijing, people from China, they call it demon city. So not just the demonic ways of treating another human being. He was also abused for 12 years because he had been in the industry for 12 years. He started when he was 25 and now he was 37. He had been abused, though he put up with it. He resisted going and doing extreme things. That's why he wasn't really allowed to shine. That man could have, had he been let to star in main roles and more roles, he would have shined. He would have. But what came out also is that he was part of a ritual. They have shamanism there, Wu shamanism. And apparently on Xi Jinping's family, there was a curse. And in Wu shamanism, when somebody has a curse, they don't do the decent practice of doing spiritual work, doing whatever they can do to make amends, you know, to take, like, if you have a curse on you, probably you've done something wrong and somebody cursed you. So how do you fix it? You fix it through work in favor, like solving the situation on a human level, intense spiritual work, prayer, meditations, other practices to cleanse and purge. That's how you, if there is a curse on you. However, no, what do you mean? Those people doing all the work? No. They seek other people who have something in common and they can transfer through torture the curse from those people onto their victims. At first people thought this was, and a lot of people today and to date think that this is outrageous and it's just far-fetched. It's just a lot of misinformation so that people can discard it. I because in my country there are a lot of there's a Chinese community in this country, just like there are Chinese communities all over the world. And there's a person who works in feng shui and bazi, so Chinese metaphysics. When I told him, because I asked for a session, he said, yeah, this is known. Everybody who starts doing the work that I do hears that these things are done. They've been done for a long time. His surprise was that this was leaked to the public, because leaking it to the public, a lot of people, because it's so far-fetched from everyday reality, a lot of people will mock it, okay, and will discredit that. And this is how, by discrediting it, you also cut the power. And you also expose them, obviously, because if this is the case, then people are gonna, and authorities or whoever, will investigate not just who ordered this, but who advised such a ritual. So yeah, that's also a component here. What I'm gonna say here now is, after being exposed to this, and this case is still ongoing, I've shown up on TikTok with short videos. This is a very long one. I could never upload such a video on TikTok. And short videos in which I took bits of the situation and I either explained to them, I took a stance, and yes, I'm also one of the people who hopes that the Chinese communist regime and all communist goddamn regimes, like all totalitarian regimes, will fall, because they are atrocious and they commit abominable crimes that we don't need, okay? We don't need. And those regimes are not there to help the people. They are just there to exploit the people. In the Chinese entertainment industry, actors and actresses are viewed as cattle and horses. And they can be used in no matter what way. Okay, there's money laundering in that industry. This is also what came up. There's human trafficking. So the actors and actresses are trafficked. They are forced to prostitute themselves. Otherwise, they can't do it. They can't make it in the industry. And yes, some of them are taken and tortured and sexually aggressed or raped and killed. Because some people are into that. Some people record that and they upload those things on the dark web, because there are other people who enjoy this stuff. So as a human being, but also a coach, first of all, yes, I address this because this is an example of shadow, not just of sexual shadow. We're talking human shadow here. We're talking demonic side, basically. And a lot of people, when I started speaking out there, left under my comments, okay, please be careful. These people are dangerous. Please be careful. Make sure that you're safe. So I was like, okay. First of all, my reaction was, I'm not a Chinese citizen, and I'm not a primary source of information, because the channels that I mentioned all have more followers than I do. They are Chinese people, and they are linked to people in China who are actually leaking that stuff. Like, I'm not a primary source of information. I'm just one of the people who was used in this game, because this was the whole plan from the beginning. And when I feel that I'm used, because I became aware that that killing could have been stopped and the other faction could have been taken down without leaving that poor and pure, not just poor, but pure soul to die, without that his death was not necessary, could have been avoided, and the goal could have been reached, and the other faction would have become heroes had they saved him. Okay, so had they gone the path of, we respect life and we're going to take care of this life, and therefore we're just going to use the information that we have and bring them to the public, but here we saved this person. Okay, but they don't have the consciousness. Okay, so they don't have it. That's why people are afraid that whoever speaks publicly, whether it's the Chinese people on those YouTube channels, whether it's the Chinese people from mainland China who are leaking all this, okay? Because somebody inside there is leaking. That needs to be said. So they're afraid not just for them, but a lot of people are worried also about for the safety of people like me. So what I did to protect myself. First of all, because this was a wound, I do breath work to heal, but I also started praying. Prayer is it's a tool. I don't mention it a lot here, although I do have the Ho'oponopono prayer. I also have a video here with it. But I pray with other prayers from my religion, which, because I'm raised in the Orthodox religion, okay, Eastern Orthodoxy, that one is much more powerful for me right now. I went to a priest. I told him all about it, including the ritual and all of that. I asked for protection. For those of us who are open to these things, we realize that it's not just a joke, okay? There actually is evil in the world, just like there is God in the world. Source, creation, whatever we call it, or creator. So I asked for protection. The feng shui and batsu professional that I sought, I gave him all the details, and I asked, first of all, to find out how exposed I was. To my good fortune, not very exposed. I was also given additional insight onto what I can do for my particular, okay, they look at your details. So for my particular details, what I can do to protect myself even more. Then I also went on the grounded level. So there are several authorities in my country that I reached out to with an actual letter, okay, official letter, introducing myself, identifying myself, presenting the situation, linking the videos, and mentioning that even though in Romania, our constitution ensures, there is an article in our constitution, the article number 30, it ensures our right to free expression. That said, they also need to know about my activity. Should anything happen to me, they need to know that there's a high probability that it's linked to that, because otherwise there's nothing that I'm doing that can get me suspiciously dying all of a sudden, were that to happen. Everybody whom I spoke to told me that no, if that thing is as messy as it is right now in China, people in China have a big issue inside their country. And then they have the bigger issue with people, Chinese people, citizens who are no longer living in China, but they are bringing that, they're the primary sources of information. So even though that makes sense, so I got confirmations from a lot of people, I still went and reported my case to various authorities. Okay, so I also did that in terms of protection. So this is how I consider like a full circle. Okay, you work on all the levels onto which the problem or the trauma has expressed itself or touched you. Okay, human level, psychological level, spiritual level, if you believe in it. Okay, so I took the measures on all levels. And I hope the primary sources of information, okay, so the Chinese people who are abroad and leaving this stuff for everybody, I'm going to link the YouTube channels. I'm sure that they also took their own precautions, okay, because they are really more exposed than I am. What I also want to mention is that there is an Avaz petition. If what I've shared so far here resonates with you, and if you stuck with me so far, first of all, I appreciate that you've done that. If you were a fan of Yu Meng Long, then probably this will have helped you in any way, make some sense of the situation, although it's still ongoing. And there are more details that I just couldn't give here because I would stay until, I don't know. I've been watching this situation since September 19th, so it would take me days to give you all the details that I've absorbed. But there is a petition that was started. If this petition were to reach 500,000 signatures, it will be automatically taken by the United Nations, and an investigation into it will be opened, because that website, okay, Avaz, raises signatures from all over the planet. And what I need you to know is that people from North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia, so 6 continents, have heard of this case. Not all of them were that actor's fans. In his mainland applications, he had about 27 million followers. So he's not exactly a nobody, not at all. But millions of people from other continents are now finding out after his brutal death, and they're seeing his songs. He's got songs here on YouTube, movies, interviews, like and people are crying even if they didn't know him before. They can still feel through this person. Yeah, they ask for justice, they sign the petition, and so on. So if this was the first time that you've heard of this actor, Yu Meng Long, and of what goes on in the Chinese entertainment industry, please know that he wasn't the first one to die that kind of a horrendous death. Actors and entertainers. Others are also used, so there are other companies, illegal companies, signed under their names who are basically laundering money. That's what they're doing. Some are linked to arms smuggling to Russia. Yes. So that's why this case is bigger than what they imagined. Okay, because when they do those killings back there, they wipe them clean. You know, the authorities cover them up with a quick explanation and nobody dares to speak. Except this one was leaked to the whole world because there is a faction that wants to use those practices of theirs to take down the Xi Jinping and Cai Qi side. So now at the end of October 2025, there's the 4th plenum of the Chinese Communist Party when probably Xi Jinping will be taken down. Unless he flees the country, because there's a lot of those channels that I mentioned from China, Chinese people linked to people in China, they're saying that there is a possibility that Xi Jinping will flee the country before the plenum. Yeah. So we wouldn't know. Like me, I would have never known about these things had this case not exploded like it did. Okay? Because what did I know? I do know that I enjoy Chinese art. I watched Chinese dramas. I was studying Chinese. Okay? I used it, and I'm gonna go back now and change. I used it in my novel. Okay? I used Chinese also. And I wanted to go to China one day. After this, I can't watch Chinese dramas anymore. I can only watch that guy's songs, and I listen to him. A beautiful, a pure soul. Some of us still appreciate purity, by the way. I watch his interviews. Some of them have subtitles in English. My Chinese is really rudimentary, so I don't really understand everything unless I have subtitles. And yeah, I gave up the wish to ever visit that country. I gave it up completely. And there are other gruesome things that are coming out with human organ harvesting. Babies that are women who are held captive. They are impregnated, and the newborns are killed and their organs are harvested. And this is something that you're going to find on Lay's Real Talk channel. She had a video just about that. That is an abomination. Okay, that regime is sick to the marrow of the bone. Okay, that kind of sick thing. So there's a lot of sick things. There are a lot of sick things that are being done in that country. I don't want, again, I hoped and I wanted to go there, but once I found out about all this, and I was also used, like my nervous system, like a lot of other people's nervous systems were used. Okay, we were all traumatized to finding out about all those things because it was a power grab within that country. Of course I'm going to speak up. Yeah, I've done other things also, not just speak up here, but again, this video is too long, so I'm not sure how many people stuck with me so far. And I apologize if this was convoluted. I tried to present it in the best way I can. I don't want to read, like you're going to see that on Lay's Real Talk, she reads. Okay, she reads off of a script, and yeah, that's why that's what a lot of people do with really large following. They actually read from a screen. I don't want to do that. I usually sit with a subject until I can present it forward. I just want to bring my contribution to this cause. I do pray every day for this man's soul. Yeah, and I've reached out to a few human rights organizations. A lot of people have. And we're probably going to write to journalists. A lot of us were encouraged to write to journalists in our countries with all these details and link the primary sources of information. So the YouTube channels that I'm going to link also under here. And if you can, I want to encourage you, please, to also sign that petition. I'm going to link that one also under the video. I hope that that soul finds peace. I hope that in the human world, he gets justice. His mother was heartbroken. By the way, he does have a mother. She was alive. She got the news of, she didn't even get a body to bury. They cremated the body also right away. They put it under the suicide attempt first, so they cremated the body. It was ruled out as a suicide. Even the authorities there can't stick to that theory now because there's a lot of pressure, even with all the censoring there. But his body was already cremated, so the mother she found out and she received a pot of ashes. That woman is probably heartbroken. Her husband, Yu Meng Long's dad, died when she was young, and Yu Meng Long was just a little child. He was a rescuer, so he died during a rescue mission. And now her son died also. And that woman is 72 now. It's just, yeah, awful. So I hope that you sign this petition, at least that, and share this video with other people if you find that this might be useful to them. And otherwise, I'm gonna, when I recover, because the whole month of September I was not okay, when I recover, I'm gonna get back to our coaching videos. Thank you for sticking up with me and so far in this video, and thank you for the support. Some of you have supported my channel, and some of you have supported me via Patreon, so I want to thank you also for that. I'll see you in the next videos.